Welcome back, everybody, to the Sexy Business Podcast. I'm your co-anchor, Spooky Dangerous, and joined with me, as always, is Lewd Neko. Say hello.
Hello.
And we are here to cover, once again, another dangerously important news topic. We are here to talk about the most obscenely, most predatorily monetized horny game of all time. And that game is Run
Genshin Impact.
Well, it's actually worse. It's actually so much worse than any Ho-Yo game. And I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to break it all down for you. I woke up early this morning and I compiled slides. Normally, we just talk about a game and I'll have a picture background. But this time, I created an entire slideshow. Yeah, this is a TED Talk. Why you should uninstall Run Goddess. But let's get started, shall we? Let's give you a quick look at what Run Goddess is. Each of these slides is going to have just literal screenshots from my phone of me playing the game. The first one is the loading screen that you are bombarded with upon loading in. Immediately cake directly to your face. But after that is the main menu. So the main menu is really complicated, and I do want to break it down because some of it is really important. A lot of this is directly designed around the same way that casinos use slot machines and roulette wheels and that kind of stuff to continually pump you through small amounts of dopamine to keep you interested and doing stuff and pressing buttons and watching the flashing lights and continuing to move on. So I'm just going to run you through some of the key important stuff on the main screen. Starting with the pink box dead center, where there is constant idle combat. Your team of 5 Valkyries will stand there and they will constantly run at an endless amount of enemies and shoot at them and fight them, which collects you gold, one of the currencies, and items for your inventory, which is directly below that. You can see my 5 rows of inventory there. Now, if you look a little bit further down, there is a red box with idle combat ammo. This is the number of times that they will enter combat and actually fight. If that number runs out, they will just stand there and continue to take hits until you get more combat ammo and they will start fighting again. If they're all knocked out, you get returned to the camp screen where you are no longer, constantly receiving currency. You're no longer receiving inventory items. This is to try and get you to be like, oh no, I have to keep this thing running, keep this hamster wheel juggling, keep this plate spinning. We then have, at the top right is the 2 currencies. So gold in this instance is literally only stuff from your inventory items being sold that you don't use, which can be done automatically, and upgrades the armory to drop higher tiered gear. It has no other function, but next to that is blue gems, which you can use for pretty much literally everything. And my argument for why this is a much worse monetized game compared to anything like Ho-Yo is that Ho-Yo games will use a premium currency, which is the thing that used to pull characters. This has the same thing, but you get so much free currency that there isn't really that much point in spending money on it unless if you truly are whaling or you're trying to access like a large amount of a particular function of the game. There's so many other microtransactions in it, which we're going to go through in a minute, which way out-clear any other game on the market. And you can see a little bit of this on the left where you have rotating events. In the screenshot, there's 6. I believe there's currently 8 because we just had an update yesterday that added some new ones for Easter. And you can see the Easter egg is one of them. And then next to that on the right, there's a red box, which is the different gameplay modes with raids, arena, and corridor being just different places you can put your characters in to fight for a different specific set of rewards. And then there's the regular level track that you run through, which has the big next level button. That's the clown face in the black box. But additionally to that, while your characters are fighting idly, you have this teal box at the top where you roll dice and it makes fruit, and then you collect fruit, which puts you into a lottery against every other player, and the person who has collected the most fruit is ranked, and then based on that ranking and tier list, a lottery will pay out rewards, and you can always see what the next reward is going to be. This is just the main menu.
This one screen.
This is
also,
one
I like your
screen.
username.
Yes. When you load into the game, you are automatically given captain and then some string of numbers, and I thought it would be hilarious to name myself Goon Legend. Now remember that, because that's going to come up later. So let's go to our next thing. Let's show you what actual gameplay looks like. So the actual gameplay is literally like those classic joke mobile ads where the guy's running along the bridge and the gates come towards him and he shoots at the gates and the number goes up or down, or there's like rolling things that you shoot and they blow up and give you upgrades and stuff like that. It's literally exactly that, except your team composition and upgrading your characters is the backbone for it, and you're trying to just clear a bar so that you can kind of AFK and clear all the content and none of it really matters, right? It's all scaled so that you just kind of follow along and it doesn't really matter. And then once you clear one of these main levels, you then get the victory reward screen where you get a bit of XP and more idle combat ammo. And then you can see on the right we have the world map, where each set of levels is 15. I'm up to the 26th set of levels or some shit.
Jesus Christ. Spooky.
Yeah, I've taken it upon myself to very seriously play this game and learn all the horrible things about it. All right, but let's dig into the monetization and why it is so abhorrent. Starting with the first of 15 battle passes. On this page is 3 separate battle passes, and you can kind of see at the top where there's like a button that's highlighted in yellow as you can scroll through all the different battle passes, and each of them give you different sets of rewards, and each of them are a separate, different single purchase you can make to make the track go faster. And as you see, a lot of them aren't very similar. The one on the far left and the far right are different, but do look the same, and the one in the middle is like even more different. And then let's go on to the next set of passes and purchases. We've got like a one-time thing on the left, which and it's a different rotating option of what the thing could be, as well as a separate different pass for extra stuff that you get if you bought the thing. And you can see there's a daily, weekly, and monthly pack, so you could be spending up to $200 to get the monthly one. This one in the middle is something that rotates differently, and it will come up and suggest you different stuff. So like if it notices that you're low on a particular currency, it's going to go, bam, here's a suggestion for you to buy this thing. And then on the right is a more just another set of things. And look, there's more of them as well. Here's just a whole nother page of just the same shit again. This is through to Battle Pass 7 or 8 now, right? And it's just all the same shit, and it encourages you to come back to this page to claim the free rewards every single time, thus bombarding you with another opportunity to spend money. That's their main thing, is they'll give you lots of small amounts of free stuff. You get lots of free gems, but then it's constantly bombarding you with the opportunity to purchase more, to get you just slightly closer to that next milestone.
I need to know who's spending $175 on this game in one purchase.
I know. We'll get to that in a minute, because I know that there is one guy in Germany that has, and I'm going to out him really aggressively in a second with screenshots proof, but we will get there in a second, because I've got the 7-day login up. This is like a really common thing to encourage people to keep coming back to the app, which most free games do now. Like most free games has like the 7-day login and also a monthly battle pass that rotates. This game does a lot of both of those things. The second image is the daily activity thing, which has, I think it's 12 items that refresh every single day, and then you unlock those top 5 things as you complete. I think most of them, I think 10 out of 12 gets you all of them. But then on the right, and you will notice that I am VIP level 3, on the right, whenever you make a purchase, you earn VIP points. And whenever you log in for the day and click the button where the treasure chest thing is, you earn VIP points. And the higher your VIP points, the actual bonuses you get to your characters, and a gold output and armory box output. So if you spend more and more and more money, you're getting more and more of these passive bonuses over time. And you have to keep it by logging in every day, or it slowly goes away.
Spooky, how much have you spent?
I spent $20.
Okay.
I was really reserved.
That's not terrible.
Yeah. Okay, so next. So on that main screen, we saw the corridor, which is one of the rotating events. And the corridor is basically just like a series of relatively difficult challenges. Now, Yonai, the character displayed in the top left of that picture, is only available through this thing. And now you have 5 days left to collect her and any and all upgrades that you want to get for her. And she cost 5 million of this currency. Now, I've played it as far up until I am able to, and I have less than 1 million. So the only way to possibly get her would be to spend lots of money. And that's just to unlock the character. That's like not even to upgrade the character. And we'll get into how crazy the upgrades are in a minute. But the other two rotating events we have currently, you can see there's one for Easter and there's one for Drone Companion, which are both literally roulette wheels. And it tells you on there, you have to roll 500 times to be able to actually get the grand prize, the thing that you want, the thing that you're there for. And you can see on the Easter one, I've obviously not spent money on extra rolls, but I've managed to get 56 rolls, which is still only 10% of the way to the thing. That's with 3 days remaining. So there's no possible way that I could, as a free-to-play player, actually earn the reward without spending money. And it's like really not clearly told to you until you've like done it for a bit and you go, well, I'm not getting close. All right, Spooky takes a breath. Next page. Okay, so now there's another separate different shop,
oh my God.
which is only accessible by clicking on the gems icon. I didn't know that this existed for the first 2 days of playing the game. And basically you get free daily gems in here, and there's a second page which gives you the treasure chest thing, which I think has ammo in it, maybe, or gold or something, doesn't matter. There's like 100 different pages where you just click on a thing to get rewards every day. But these are all different purchases. So there's the annual card, which is like an annual subscription for $180, where the daily privileges last for 365 days. So imagine knowing you were going to play this game every day for 365 days, right? Like,
you're basically marrying the game at that point.
Exactly.
Make a commitment.
Exactly. And then we have the monthly card, which is the same thing but for 30 days. And then there's a series of other shops within that as well. There's one just for regular blue gems, and there's one for specific upgrade items. Because there's so many different parts of your character that can be upgraded, that means that there is a specific item currency that could be purchased, right? And just on that picture on the right, you can see it's like an artifact hammer for a specific artifact set of things where you collect artifacts, and each of the different artifacts can be upgraded to give your total power increase. The next one is your tank. You have a tank that you can upgrade. The one after that is a specific character, Flame, who it's like upgrades for her personally, and so on and so on. And then here is just the rest of those shop pages, where one of them is where you can spend gems to get extra materials, characters, and stuff like that, which is actually not bad. Like, it's priced pretty well considering how much free gems you get. And then there's pink gems. Now, I still don't know what pink gems do. I've never been prompted to spend pink gems. I don't know what they do. But you can buy them. You can spend $180 on them. Now, this last screenshot on the far right is me, Goon Legend. I'm ranked number 10 on my server for only spending $20. And I play for about an hour a day, realistically. And sometimes when we have a YouTube video on the background, I'll just be mindlessly watching it run. Now, the guy in first place, you'll notice a number under each person's username with like a gun icon. Mine says 50 million, and it's because my Valkyrie power is 45.6 million. And that's me, kind of above average casual playing daily. Now, the dude in first has a Valkyrie power of 135, which means that in the same time period, because the game's only started recently, I was in the first couple of days, in the same time period, he has accrued 3 times as much progress in the game as me, which means he really has to be spending money. Which scares me a little bit. But anyway, we'll move on. Next thing is the cosmetics that are purchasable for your main character. Like Genshin, as opposed to ZZZ, for example, you have a main character that you will see a lot of the time. In ZZZ, you can just replace the main character with literally any of the characters unlocked now, so that you barely ever see your character. But you always, one of your 5 people in your squad is the Dawnbringer, the main character. And now you can purchase one of these 4 outfits. I only have screenshots of 3 of them, but as you can see, they're all relatively lewd in some way. I know the red one in the middle doesn't look relatively lewd, but in literally every single animation, she's upskirting herself. And she wobbles around like crazy, you wouldn't believe. The hardest part of taking a screenshot was making sure that it wasn't in the middle of moving something and be blurry. All right. Then, again, which costume is then another purchase, and they're quite expensive. Okay, now I have on time made half of the episode just explaining how terrible this game is, and then we're going to spend the rest talking about the different characters. But before we get to that, there's one last thing I need to talk about first, which is Aurora. When you first play the game, in the story, Aurora shows up and she is injured by the main villain and poisoned. And then the game goes, you need to get the antidote to save Aurora's life, and then you will unlock this character. And it goes, you have 24 hours to do this. And you need to clear 15 levels to get the antidote. I'm like, okay, I can probably do that. And in 2 or 3 sessions, I came back to it. I was taking a shit. I played some more of the game. I managed to get the first antidote. And then it goes, sick, that was antidote 1 of 3. You now need to clear 15 more levels to get the second part of the antidote. I'm like, what the fuck? She's going to die if I don't rescue her. And so that whole time it's trying to make that very first window of the game where you first play it guarantee that you're going to come back. You're going to have to come back again and again and constantly be exposed to this thing. Like, it's really predatory. And then the last thing is the star upgrade. Now, in Hoyoverse games like ZZZ, Honkai Star Rail, and stuff like that, you have 6 tiers of upgrade for a character. In HSR, for example, when you pull a character, it's Eidolon 0, and then as you pull multiple copies of a character, it's Eidolon 1 all the way up to 6. In this game, there's 25 of those. And the differences between them is not a whole extra ability. It's like 5% power increase on the character, which is kind of insane. Some characters I do have a couple of stars on because you do like roll a lot. You get about 30 rolls a day just playing for free, which doesn't really accomplish you that much, but does get you like a bunch of upgrade material. But it is expecting you to want to like really spend money on getting on the upgrades and getting through it. But okay, I finished my big rant. It's time to talk about some of the character design of these characters. Now, Neko, who has been very patient with me, on this first page, what are you seeing? What's standing out to you here?
I mean, the nun immediately stands out because I'm a big fan of religious themes.
This one's very tropey, I think. This page in particular.
Yeah, it's very like generic. Like, I'm pretty sure I've seen that exact like nun costume in like real life before at like a party, like for Halloween. I like that her gun is just like kind of there.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have made it look cooler. Like give her a cool holy gun that looks like a cross or something, you know?
Yeah. It is some of it does run a little generic, but then some of it's like really far away. So it is interesting. I wonder if it's that they're trying to appeal to a specific interest or not. So yeah, first is Aurora, which is our nun, and then next is Emily, who is a maid. Now, Emily is a tank type character, which means that she has a flamethrower, which I think is an interesting thing for a maid to have.
It's fun.
Yeah. And then our last one is Kiki, who is cat girl cheerleader.
Okay.
And as you might guess from her character model, she does flop around a lot. All right, let's go to the next page. All right, next is Elia, I think, who's kind of like a soccer goalie type.
I like that her title is Vibrant Babe.
Yes. Yeah.
Very descriptive.
And then next is Miranda, who's kind of like a motorcycle sporty girl type. And then the last one is Emilius, who I have no idea. I don't own this character. She's like a robot girl, I think. Robot maid girl is the vibe.
Yeah, she looks so out of place amongst the characters you've seen so far.
Yeah, there is some other more robot-y ones, but they're all so premium and difficult to get that I've not had an opportunity to even get them, having not spent money, which is really funny. So it's like I might just never encounter this person. Okay, next is Gabrielle, who has like a grenade launcher thing, but it's like an active wear kind of fit, and the headphones. Got, again, like more of a sporty kind of vibe.
Not digging the colors on a lot of these outfits. Like there's like Gabrielle especially. There's nothing eye popping about her design. It's very muted.
I agree.
Like at least Yonai, she's got like that blue underneath her hoodie, so it's like ooh, pretty colors.
Also, Yonai is the only lolly-coded character. She is easily the shortest. You'll find that most of them are sort of the same height, and you'll find that most of them are about the same bust. They're all kind of ridiculously not flat-chested. Whereas Yonai is a big exception. And also is really, really expensive to get. So I wonder if they think that there genuinely is such a lolly-enjoying audience that they're like, yeah, we can primo the shit out of this character and people will wail on it. Which I'm curious about.
I mean, someone will.
Someone will.
Surely.
In theory, you just have to make the one character that one guy with $1 million likes. And then you receive $1 million. And then next we have Audrey, who is like a Superman type character. She does actually
about to say,
fly.
She kind of looks like a superhero.
Yeah, and she's got the cape going on. All of her... So there is actually like romance and dialogue in this game, but the way it goes is you have a romantic encounter, you talk to them, they basically deliver 2 lines of dialogue, and then you pick one between 2 options, and then they remark upon that, and then it ends. That's the whole thing. And all
just
of
like real women.
Exactly, yeah. You press A, and then they give you an opportunity to answer a question, and then you leave. All of her dialogue is like the same kind of moral quandary that Superman has, and then you give her like a really grey answer, and she's like, I'll think about it. And it's like really mediocre. Alright, let's go next page. Okay, so we've got Ophelia. This is another robot-coded character where she's in this kind of insane bodysuit with a boob, not window, pocket. It's like a boob pocket. And then like an insanely tight latex kind of like underbody thing. And then like weird big wings and gigantic big gun. I have no idea how to unlock this character. I haven't seen her anywhere except for this menu. Which I don't know is a bit silly. And then next we have Rena, who is another tank character, which means she must have a flamethrower, except this one is a water gun.
I kind of like that. It's fun.
Yeah, it is. I really like her tomboy girl kind of design, except for the fact that they gave her this ridiculous underboob that just looks physically impossible.
Her boobs will be falling out.
Yeah, and it flops around a lot to specifically show you the underboob too, which is really weird. I think it's like, hey, this is really sexy, and then you look at it and you go, is it though? Okay.
It's almost like it's trying so hard to be sexy that it becomes unsexy.
Yeah.
Like there's something erotic about it.
It becomes clumsy instead. And then next we have Sophia, which is another robot girl type character, but it's a lot more muted. Like it's just in her like hands and legs.
She's very Detroit Become Human.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. All right, next page.
Wait, she's the ultimate weapon? Isn't that what they call Shadow the Hedgehog?
Okay, so we have Shadow the Hedgehog. New waifu acquired. But yeah, let's go next page. So this is 3 characters that are literally on my team right now. That's why they are such a higher level compared to the others. We have Wendy, who is a wolf girl, and she's like Halloween themed. Even though the game has not seen a Halloween event, she is Halloween themed. And she has like a grenade launchery kind of thing that shoots pumpkins. And so it's really obvious whenever she's shooting at stuff. And she's
I'm surprised she's a wolf. Yeah. Like, I feel like Black Cat is a lot more Halloween coded. Like, I guess werewolf, but she doesn't give werewolf in any way.
No.
Because this makes me think a lot of, like, Blair Witch, or yeah, Blair from Soul Eater, who has, like, a pumpkin cannon and, like, pumpkin-themed moves.
It's a Guilty Gear character, Jack O. That's a bit like that kind of vibe also. But no, this one I think is interesting because it just goes, hey, what is Halloween? And then puts all of those things together into one character. Because obviously wolf and pumpkin doesn't overlap a lot, but she does use the orange motif to make her stand out a lot from the other characters.
Yeah, she's cute at least.
Yeah. Next is Flame, the singing phoenix. She's really interesting. She's one of the reasons I spent money on the game, because she's really hard to get. And when you do get her, you cannot upgrade her unless if you spend money. And you can't unlock multiple different skills, unless if you upgrade the character a certain amount of times with the star upgrade, which is the thing that I spent money on, so that she could get the actual skills that make her good. And so she's like a guitarist thing, and she shows up a lot in the game in the like the victory menu and stuff, like we saw earlier, where she like actually plays the guitar a little bit and then goes, "Woo, victory!"
Do you see a bit of Roxy from Pokemon? She was like the one guitar playing gym leader.
Yeah. Same kind of vibe. And then the last one is Yu Sheng. Now, this is probably my favorite character. Probably not necessarily by design, but in gameplay. Because she's
got glasses.
She does have glasses. I mean, she could have twin buns under there somewhere. But she shoots these big flaming tornadoes, and it's like very cool and like a big area of effect attack, and I like that. But her actual outfit is sort of like a key pow. It would read as that a bit easier if it wasn't billowing at this exact moment when I took the screenshot. But the top half of it, like you can see her belly button through it quite visibly, and you can see all of her chest in great deal. So it must be put on with a vacuum cleaner. I don't see any other way that this dress could have been put on. And her weapon is a gigantic fan to make the wind.
Oh, that's fun.
All right, let's go to the next one, which is Chinatsu Shiraishi, a character that I got already when I was past she would be good, so she got benched immediately. And her fit just kind of reads as like generic
action, this is super boring
spy kind of character.
Like, if you're gonna make her whole outfit gray, her hair should not be gray.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the next is Zoe. I actually like Zoe's outfit. It is formal wear, which is, alas, one of my weaknesses. But it's like a...
it's like a bodysuit?
Yeah, it's kind of like a bodysuit, but like high-waisted that meets in a corset with like a business blouse, but more like the... You know, the bunny suit top? It's a bit more like that. This is a bit more like the classic bunny suit, but instead it's more like a jeans, not jeans, slacks. I don't know what you would call them.
Yeah. So pants. Yeah, fancy pants or slacks.
Yes, pants.
Trousers.
The next character is Rika, the spirit fox, which we actually get animated cutscenes of where she's interacting with the vending machine and it doesn't go according to plan. Which I don't know, is weird. But I haven't seen a way to unlock her yet, so I don't have her. But I like her model. I think the design is actually kind of interesting. She's got a lot going on.
Yeah, it's okay, so she's very like VTuber's first design coded to me, where it's hella over designed, extremely big focus on like a particular color, so that way their fans know what to associate it with. Like, I like a lot of the ideas here, but I would redesign it and like tone it down a little bit so there's not just stuff everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and then our last page of characters. So starting with Nicole, who I like
Is that
a lot.
Lightning McQueen?
Yeah, and then Lightning McQueen in the middle. I mean, Lightning Madison in the middle. And then the last one is Diva, who is the current banner.
Oh my god.
Who is like a cutesy little girl type, but
I mean, she's Diva from Overwatch.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, which is bigger tits.
Similar. Yeah, trying to be similar, but it has like an added teddy bear motif.
Yeah.
And then Nicole's like the classic British combat outfit, or like similar to like Caitlyn from Arcane's uniform, like the blue uniform, which is kind of similar. So like nothing feels kind of crazy unique. Some of the robot girls are a bit more out there compared to the rest of the cast, but I wonder if it is specific that, and if you have a look back at the rarities, all of the lower rarity ones, the blue ones, with the exception of Nicole, I think have very drab and kind of more bland color palette, and more not uninspired, but like trying to be more ordinary intentionally. And then as you go up the rarities, they become a bit more interesting in the design.
Which makes sense. I mean, that's the whole point of like, if you're going to have a game that has characters that are ranked in a certain way, then you have to make the SRs or Rs boring. That was something that like Love Live had to do, where like, of course, like you had like the main 9 idols you were always pulling for, but there was like a set of like, I think like 20-ish or so kind of like normal girls, though some of them actually ended up being turned into actual idols, which was interesting.
So that's kind of Run Goddess. That's kind of everything that I had planned on running through it. Obviously, we didn't get much time to stop and think about it, but you can see, and when you're playing something, when you're playing something like this, you're maybe not thinking about how obviously greedy and egregious it is to try and steal your money, but then when you see it a bit more presented like this, and all at once, and seeing just how much crazy shit there is in it, it might actually communicate to you what some of the problems are when it comes to designing something like this, and how predatory it can be. Because people already, besmirch gacha games in general for being incredibly predatory, because it is literally just using research about gambling in ways to trigger the addiction centers in people to spend money, but it's not legislated by any government.
Regulated.
To protect teenagers from spending all of their money and getting addicted to gambling. We've literally had cases now where they're talking about stuff like Counter-Strike case gambling, turning teenagers that just liked video games into gambling addicts for life and stuff like that as well. So I think coming and experiencing something like this really should be done with caution and like that, but mindfulness of it, and that compared to something like this, maybe an innocent game on Steam for $7 isn't that bad.
I think the most interesting thing is that this is also really common in children's toys. I'm kind of in like the doll community because I still keep up with like Monster High and all that. And a really common thing is basically like gacha mechanics in children's toys. So there's these Barbies, for example, where you don't know what dress or like outfit she's gonna have, and like you put her in water and like the paint comes off and it reveals the Barbie you got. But there's like, there's a collection of 5 and one of them's really hard to get, so you'd have to buy multiple. And there's all these like little tiny sort of bag toys, almost like Pokemon cards, and Pokemon cards were also similarly predatory. So this isn't necessarily like a new thing, it's just worse now, because now previously it was only people who were in the trading card games that were sort of victim to this, and now it's anyone who's like any child or teenager. If you're into video games or regular toys or cards, like there is these sort of like either gambling or chance mechanics that, as we've seen, can become really problematic. I've been victim to it. I've never actually been a victim of like money to gacha games, but I've been a major victim of like losing a lot of time to gacha games. I've been playing them since I was like 14. I started with Love Live, and I mean, I remember losing sleep, like staying up until 2 or 3 a.m. on like a school night because I needed to get the special card from the event that would end, and I would never be able to get that card again if I didn't get a certain tier for a certain event that ended at 3 in the morning. Um, this is something I did frequently. And then the ones I'm still playing are Shining Nikki and Infinity Nikki in particular, which my excuse is I actually enjoy the gameplay. I enjoy like the basic dress up functions, and I get to have like an artistic amount of fun. And the nice thing about that gacha system, because for those of you who don't know, these are fashion games, so they're based around collecting outfits. That's what you're doing roles for. It's not really, you don't really get like too many points. There's not as much of like a emphasis on like grinding or like leveling up. But even if you don't get the full set, like let's say a clothing set is 9 items, you can still use the 3 items with like other outfits you make. So for me, even as a free to play player, I'm still getting benefits out of like most polls I do. I did have kind of a wake up call, I think about a year or so ago, where I was also playing on top of Shining Nikki. I was playing one of the Miku gacha games, Project Sakai.
Yeah.
I was playing the Twisted Wonderland, which is the Disney anime boy one. That's fun. And I was playing like one other one, and I realized like I woke up one morning and I was doing my dailies and doing my daily logins and all that shit, and I just realized it felt like a job. I was like, this sucks. Like, I don't want to do this. I'm not having fun. I'm just like, time to log in for the hour or two I have to waste on these games. And I just went cold turkey. I uninstalled like all of them except for Shining Nikki like overnight. And I was just like, yeah, I feel better now. I am concerned though because one of the ones I got really into was a Madoka Magica one. In particular, the English server for it only lasted a year, and I'm so glad I didn't spend money on it because that was also a kind of a gotcha wake up moment. It's like this will all disappear.
Yeah.
Like eventually your servers will shut down, even for Genshin, or like other major ones. Like there will be a point where they just won't be creating content anymore, and there's a pretty good chance at some point you won't even be able to play the game anymore. Though interestingly, there is actually legislation being put, I think, in some countries. I don't think it was America, but one of the other countries is proposing basically a law that would make it illegal to kind of sell a game that is going to become obsolete or like unplayable. But yeah, that's the other thing is like all this money you're spending, it just disappears. It goes into the void, literally, for like anime JPEG. One of the ways I kind of started thinking about it, or what keeps me from gambling, is like even with a series I really like Madoka Magica, where I'm like, oh, I really like that character, and I'd probably have to spend like let's say $30 to get the card or whatever it is. That's $30 I could buy like real tangible merch of, like stuff I can hold and keep forever. Or you could purchase art, or you could save up for like a figure you really want, or literally
3
anything
more
else.
games. Yeah. Yeah, people make the same complaint about Marvel Snap because they looked at exactly how much it costs to get one card in that game, and a deck is of 12 cards. So imagine if you had to buy a whole new deck. It's kind of insane. But it's like around between $80 and $100 to get one new card as it comes out. And they literally let you just spend it and buy it immediately. And it's kind of insane. But people were like, do I get Monster Hunter, which just came out, or do I get this one new card for this game that I've been playing for a while? And I've been deep in the TCG thing for a long time. I played Magic the Gathering for a million years. I played Pokemon TCG for about a year and a half now. And in both of those things, I sold my entire collection and made money back on it. Not like a full refund kind of thing. I sold all of my Magic cards in about 2013, I want to say. I've never owned Cardboard Crack since, and I sold it for about $1.50. And then I played Pokemon TCG for about a year and a half, but like really competitively. I owned like nearly every competitive card, and I just sold recently because there's a big rotation and stuff's kind of gotten mid, and they made Budju, which is a big mistake. And then I sold everything out there to a friend for half of TCG player prices, so it ended up being $500, but could have been $1,000. And so it's so different when you can go, you know what, I'm kind of done with this, it's time to move on, and then you can pass it on to somebody else that will appreciate it and also get some money for time spent, versus me renting Jane Doe on ZZZ for however long I'm going to be playing the game, and then eventually she vanishes.
What's funny is I know that people do sell accounts, especially on ones where like there are methods for you to do this. Like I remember that was actually a pretty common thing, is like people would basically make spoof accounts for like Love Live, and they would center it around like a particular girl or card, and then they would, because you always get like a bajillion of the free currency when you first sign up for the gacha game, right? That's like how you do it. That's the trend of every single one. And so what they would do is just create a new account and get that particular card, and then like sell it for like 15 or $20, which isn't a lot, but you can do that like 10 times.
Yeah, there's always going to be kind of people that try and make the best out of something, or like streamers, for example. Like Tectone said that he's spent fucking 300 grand or some ridiculous number on gacha games, but he uses it to make content, and the content makes the money that pays that cost, right?
I remember, oh God, that just like unearthed the memory. I remember for Love Live, like Love Live was probably the app I got the worst with, because I was in high school, so I had a lot of free time, which I don't have it as an adult. I think that's the other thing, is when you're a teenager, like you literally have less impulse control. So you're like, yeah, spending 3 hours a day on this app or spending a ton of money, my entire like, you know, shitty McDonald's paycheck makes sense. Because you don't have a concept of like what money is used for yet. Like you aren't paying for bills. And then you're an adult and you have to pay for bills and you have to spend your time at your job. And I think that put a lot of it into context that I wasn't able to when I was a teenager. But all that to say, I remember I used to watch, like when I couldn't pull full events, I would just spend like 30 minutes or 60 minutes like watching people who would spend a lot of money doing pulls. Like it was almost like watching a mukbang where you're like, oh, I can't eat 4,000 calories of a burger or whatever, so I'm gonna watch this skinny Asian girl do it.
Yeah, I mean that still happens now for a lot of Hoyo games. I see people doing pulls and stuff like that, and you kind of look at it and you go, "Did they get the character? No, okay, don't care." But yeah, there is kind of a weird large ecosystem around these kind of things because people get sucked in and want other people to suffer with them. But gambling is a problem. Gambling is literally something that preys on the dopamine receptors in your brain, and people with depression and stuff like that are really susceptible because they're always craving dopamine and think that their brain no longer has the ability to make a sufficient amount of. Don't I know it? And it can be really hard to wrench yourself away from stuff like this, and especially now, and as we can see with Run Goddess as a really bad example, that companies are doing everything they can with the research and everything learned to use those things to make more money. And it's just best for you to be an informed consumer, understand what you are signing up for. Do you have the strength to continue to play free to play? Are you going to be just fine experiencing the game that you're playing? Are you doing it as a way to spend time with friends, like a lot of games, or is this just a thing that you constantly scroll and play games on while you're taking a shit, which is also fine? You just got to think about how you're spending your time and your money. And I don't know, are you really going to be beating your shit to Run Goddess compared to some of the other games we've talked about on the channel? I don't think so. Anyway, that is our extra special, extra alert, long episode about the predatory natures of gacha games. So keep safe yourself and do your best to be mindful as we try and tell you all of the things that are happening in the horny anime girl industry here on the Sexy Business Podcast.
Bye-bye.